This week in the news, it is confirmed that Corvettes are hot. Now, this has nothing to do with the market. In fact, they've cooled off quite a bit, especially the new Z06s. Yeah. But anyway, according to 5newsonline.com, a grass fire on I-49 in Arkansas impacted southbound traffic for around 2 hours. Crews responded to several grass fires on I-49 southbound between Elm Springs and Wagon Wheel on Monday, October 7th. The captain said the fire appeared to have started on I-49 and spread to the area of North 48th Street, but the department is still investigating the exact cause and its point of origin. Multiple structures were involved, 7 total agencies responded to the scene, and only 1 person was evaluated for injuries. Excellent.
That's still significant. So many buildings, holy
But nobody
crap.
was hurt, was my point of it being excellent. So the chief said the crews concentrated on protecting the structures first and then pivoted to fighting the fire, which was declared under control at 4:59 p.m., so about 2 hours later. Vaughn said that dry conditions contributed to how quickly the fire spread. Now, anecdotally, I will say that I mentioned this on our Lambeau road trip. We were out there in late October, and it was still incredibly dry. They were under a drought. And when we were in Oklahoma, we stopped for the night at the hotel. We could smell fire, and what was happening was they were burning controlled burns to set up a fire line because there was a bunch of wildfires in Oklahoma, Arkansas, all through the Midwest. So we experienced this firsthand. And the gentleman that we hung out with on when we were in Oklahoma that night, whatever date it was, doesn't matter, mentioned to us that there had been issues at track days. It had been so dry that at some track days, they had basically instituted a new policy that if your car breaks down, typically you pull off of the track. You pull off of the paved asphalt so you're not in the way of other cars or you're not dumping fluids or whatever on the racing line. But they're told, do not do that. Stay on the asphalt, because cars had pulled off onto the grass. And just the heat itself from the car had ignited the dry grass. And then the car went up in flames. So people's cars were burning down at track days simply because they were pulling off the asphalt. So this isn't something that typically enters my mind because we don't deal with that severe of dry conditions in Ohio. Every now and then we do, but not to that level. But, we certainly experienced it. What does all this have to do with Corvettes?
I was waiting for you to get there. I figured you'd lead us here eventually. I have enough whiskey left.
The rhetorical questions posed by me all the time. There was a video posted from some highway department that I found randomly of this fire. And it was a southbound traffic camera right where the fire started. And about, 30 seconds or a minute before the fire started, you see a Corvette on a trailer. It was a C8. No, it wasn't an E-Ray.
You can't get any extra miles on her.
Yeah,
Gotta take her on a trailer.
So it was being towed on a trailer by a Chevy Silverado, of course.
Oh, naturally. Can't have no Ford pulling my Corvette.
Right. And the rear trailer tire was completely gone. It was shredded and gone to the point where the trailer was riding on that rim. And they were driving on the shoulder, and the rim was throwing sparks.
But was it one of those trailers that has like 2 wheels on each side? So It was like still pretty stable, but it was contacting the ground enough to...
Yes. You could see the sparks. It was throwing sparks. So it like basically drives down between these 2 exits. I'm not saying this was the cause of the fire, but gee, is it coincidental? Drives down between these 2 exits where the 4-mile stretch where the fire was on this side of the highway. You see sparks flying, and then you see, boom, fire. And you watch it, and it just spreads, and it goes everywhere.
The look at the end towards, after the fire's burned for a bit on the video, where it's just black on the side of the highway is kind of wild.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. So we do not know If the driver was ever identified or charged, as I mentioned, the news story said that they're still investigating the cause of the fire. Although if the driver was charged, if the Corvette was responsible, if it was a Callaway that was on the trailer, he would have been supercharged. And in the video too, I did notice that the car appeared to be burnt orange.
Ah, okay.
Yep. Yep. I don't want to roast him too much, though.
Couldn't even
he did roast 4 miles of highway, but
allegedly.
But I will give him a pass here a little bit, right? So not being from those super dry areas where fires just start immediately, and having towed a lot with trailers, and having been on the side of the highway and knowing it is one of the most dangerous places ever to be, if I had a flat on a trailer, I don't know that I would want to stop. I would want to try to limp it to the next exit. I would not want to risk my life to be on the side of a highway changing a tire.
Yeah, I have been on the side of a highway changing a tire before, and it was terrifying. You just, head is always on a swivel. You're stressed because obviously you're changing a tire, so something bad has happened. So I cannot blame the driver for wanting to do that. They seem to be going at a pretty good click, though. I mean, I feel like you could probably put on the hazards and go slowly as to not do this. Because I've struggled, like, if this is what caused it, this is all we're postulating here about what we don't know the answer. Is it some level of negligence? But, like, I don't know, you can't, like, sue anybody or, like, put somebody in jail for that. But, like, you should be more responsible if you live in an area or are in an area that struggles with really, really dry conditions.
If I was from there, I would never do something like that, right? I could see myself as some dumb foreigner from Ohio doing something like that and not thinking any better of it. I can be an idiot sometimes.
I guess if the car's on the trailer, they could have been transporting it across states. Like, they maybe just didn't think about it. So
very possible. Very possible.
What I think frustrates me a little more, though, is all of the people in this video that you see drive by, and it takes so long for a fire department to show up. If you see a fire on the side of the highway, wouldn't you call it in?
What the article did say is they were focused on structures first. So you don't see them like that. When you look back at the drone footage of the fire, it's a very wide swath. And all we see in this highway cam is just right off the highway, like this little stretch of highway. So there's a bunch of fires happening elsewhere that had been sparked by this, and they're working on those fires first.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, I guess that makes me feel a little bit better. But if you see something, say something. Right. I don't think anybody's going to be upset about being told by the 17th person that there is a fire, because it's better than zero.
Yeah. Rumor has it that authorities have put out an APB searching for a white conservative male, 5 foot 8 inches tall, white hair, mustache, wearing a red satin jacket with a bow tie logo, Wrangler jean shorts, and white New Balances with tube socks.
Did Hank pick up a new car?
He was last seen complaining about beef jerky prices at Buc-ee's. Rumor has it also that the Corvette, which used to be displayed proudly at events with a board displaying how rare it is, has now gone into hiding, not unlike many other rare collectible Corvettes destined to go up in value after they stop going down in value. In fact, this Corvette is no longer rare. It was actually on the verge of becoming well done. Quite crispy, in fact.
All right, producer Ethan's going to need to use that edit button, I think, a little bit in post.
We're missing our... Where is it? It's not in our new studio. I got to get it. Brings us to the Scaminator. This is people pulling off scams or trying to pull off scams. And Scaminator this week is a dealer, sort of. We've seen in the past where car dealers have... Well, not car dealers. Where... someone purporting to be a car dealer is online. It would be a spurious car dealer, and had to. Would
you like to define that for the audience, Doug?
A Lycan Hypersport would be like Fast and the Spurious. That's a 2-level joke because it's not a real car, but it's from Fast and the Furious. So there's
was that on your word of the day toilet paper this morning?
No, I use that word every day if I can. Anyway, scams are by definition spurious. So dealers will, not dealers, it will look like a real dealer. Somebody will go and find like a defunct car dealership and then apply for an Auto Trader or Cars.com advertising account, sending in information from this defunct car dealership. And then they'll put together a fancy website and advertise fancy cars for less than they're worth. And people will call them up, of course, or email them. And, they'll want them to wire money or put down a deposit or whatever. They'll be around for a week or two until they get caught, and then they are no more. Well, we saw a little bit different take on that this week. Somebody sent me a link to a BMW M3 on carsforsale.com. It had 50,000 miles. It was a 2013 E92, and it was only $16,000. It's about...
That has to be firmly in the it's too good to be true camp.
Correct. It is less than half of market value. Oddly enough, the photos were immediately recognizable as being from Autostrada Westport. And because they had Redshifts green Ferrari F40 in the background.
Wouldn't you think that you want something less conspicuous? How many green F40s are there around?
Right. And this dealership is supposedly in Texas. So any car guy that knows anything is going to be like, well, this is obviously a scam, right? So
something that smells a little smelly.
I don't think they are preying on car guys, right? And obviously not our podcast listeners. They're all way too smart because they listen to us to fall for something like this. What happened was, so I did my usual little looking up. As you look up their dealership, you look up their phone number, their dealer license, you search for their address on Google Maps. All that stuff checked out. It was Bay Motors, Texas, BayMotorsTX.com. The phone number was correct. And I'm like, man, what is the angle here? And it became apparent very quickly by a response from the dealership itself that it was a real dealership whose account had been hacked. So these scammers hacked the account, hacked their website, left their real phone number up, but I'm guessing that the contact form went to the scammers. So they were trying to get, people would email and they were trying to divert the leads that way. So they had changed their inventory, put up a bunch of exotic cars for way, way under value. And thankfully it got caught very quickly. Monday, this hack happened over the weekend. And by Monday they had already restored their website back to normal and everything was fine. So hopefully not very many people got scammed. But again, that's just another thing to look out for if it seems too good to be true, especially from a dealer. It is, because dealers ain't going to leave that kind of profit on the table. This episode is brought to you by Sheffield All Sport Watches. The Sheffield brand was recently revived by Jay Turkbus, an owner of an original Sheffield All Sport diver he received from his parents in 1970 when he was just 11, beginning his love of watches. As an adult, Jay used his extensive expertise in product development and marketing to revive the brand that started it all. He set out to develop watches with a high level of quality and specification at a value price. His first effort, and a successful one in July of 2023, was the debut of the Sheffield All Sport Diver 1. It had the kind of build and movement that much more expensive watches use, and his debut price of $108 was equivalent to the $13 his parents paid back in 1970. Since that debut, Sheffield has expanded to a wider range of automatics and chronos, many designed around vintage Sheffield dials of the 60s. The Sheffield well of clever and unique design remains his inspiration, as well as maintaining the goal of high quality, very affordable range of automatic and quartz watches. Sheffield watches, value on merit, not just price. I love mine. Get yours at SheffieldWatches.com and mention that you heard about them on Switchcast. Thank you for joining us for Switchcast with Doug Tabbitt and Tyler Sanders, produced by Ethan Huffnagel. Switchcast is an automotive entertainment and opinion show, and nothing we say should be taken very seriously. We do not give tax, investment, legal, emotional, or professional advice, and the only licenses we hold are driver's licenses. The opinions expressed on this show are exclusively held by the people pontificating at that moment and do not reflect the values of our producers or sponsors. Our theme music is provided by Emily and Ivory. You can stream their full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. If you like this show, you can stream it in its entirety on your favorite audio podcast platform. Check out switchcast.live for more info.